Hey, good people, this is your Dom, back with another YouTube reflection. And this is a personal journal for contemplative people looking to think, grow, and have impact in the world. So, hey. So, I have NI and SI on the brain. And if I were in the long form reflection, I would talk about them. I'd move back and forth and talk about them as I need to kind of unpack it. But this is a 15-minute reflection, so I'm not sure which one I'm going to lean into. I'm going to do my damnedest to lean into one. I'm going to do my damnedest to lean into NI more than SI, but I am going to start off by letting you know how they're both on the brain, and we'll see what happens. But hey, if you're new to this project, this is a personal journal where I process my inner and my outer worlds. I do so by using personality theory. The two theories that I use the most are the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. Pushing those two systems together, I identify as an INTJ8. I have a number of other disclaimers that I talk about in the long form reflection on my podcast. But for the short form reflection on YouTube, I just want to let you know that this project is unedited, it's unscripted. To know more about it or me, feel free to go to my website at yournidom.wordpress.com. Very little bit of housekeeping. I just recorded another short YouTube reflection on TE versus TI because I feel a need to understand how I can see myself as a TI user when I know clearly I'm a TE user. And when I went to listen to some content from the Personality Hacker and I was listening to them describe TI, I was like, oh, I do that too. I don't do all of it, but I do a lot of it. And so I did a YouTube reflection. Hopefully you'll see it once you hear this, that it'll already be uploaded. But I was talking about how to account for the fact that I can see myself as a TE user and a TI user as an INTJ. So anyway, go check that out. But here is where my NISI interest is for this recording. And like I said, I hope to lean more into NI more than SI. So let me start with SI. Let's just pray. Let's start with SI. So one of the things I've talked about in the podcast is that I have what's called an SI haunting. And that SI haunting is that I'll remember the past and then I'll romanticize it. And that's because I'm remembering the past without a lot of SE data, right? So I'm only remembering parts of the past that I enjoy or that I felt comfortable, that made me feel good. But if I'm not careful, I'll romanticize the past and I'll grieve the present. I'll mourn the present because it doesn't match up to how good the past felt. And the reality is I don't have the best relationship with SI, the past, because first of all, it's at the bottom of my stack. And I'm pretty sure I'm removing all the relevant data. I'm only holding on to the thing that makes me feel good, that makes me comfortable. And I call that a haunting because what it can do is it can grab me and restrict me. It makes me not appreciate where I'm at right now. So that's how I call it. I've always called it an SI haunting. And I was listening to a television show, Frasier. It's syndicated. It's old. It's like from the 90s, but I watch it on repeat on Hulu. And so I don't know what season this is, but Frasier says, oh my gosh, let me put you guys on pause. Something to the fact of the seductive past, or the past can be seductive. And I was like, oh, that is it. So I went and Googled it, and I found there are quotes that mirror that type of sentiment. And that's kind of how I understood it. Like, oh, that's when there's something about the past that you found comfortable. All you're doing is remembering the comfort, and you're forgetting everything else. And that's problematic. And if I was in the long form reflection on the podcast, I would spend time really talking about some of those things that I have romanticized from the past and really talk about how it's impacting me in terms of appreciating my presence or my future. There's another line from another syndicated, or excuse me, I don't know why I'm saying syndicated, sitcom called The Office. And Andy if you don't know these characters, I'm sorry, I'm not going to explain. I don't have time to explain it. But anyway, Andy makes the comment, I wish that we could know that we were in the good old days before we leave the good old days. So that's the same sentiment. You can look in the past and go, oh, those were the good old days. And then I could do that. Like I could do that from last year. I could be like, oh, last year was so great. But why can't I appreciate the present the way I appreciate the past? Why do I have to leave the past in order to appreciate it? And I think that goes back to this idea that there is something about how we're remembering the past that makes us comfortable, and then we're locking into that as though that's the reality of what happened, and it's just not. So I'd love to spend more time there, but I am getting ready to go now into NI. And if you don't know Myers-Briggs, I'm not the person you should be listening to, because I don't teach the MBTI. I just use it. I don't teach MBTI. I use it to make my life better. And if me doing that out loud, if me using MBTI and the Enneagram out loud using it to help me out loud helps you or somebody else, then that's win, because that's impact, right? That's TE for me. All right. Now let me move over to NI. I'm so freaking proud of myself. I can't believe I'm doing this. I am moving over to NI. So this morning I had a thought, my NI hero or my NI zero. So NI is introverted intuition. By the way, if I didn't say that, SI stands for introverted sensing. It's one of the 8 cognitive functions for memory. Anyway, so I was thinking of my hero, if I'm not mistaken, how they characterize that dominant function, they call it our hero. Now I gotta go pause. I need to look that up. Hold on. Okay, I have it right. I had to look that up because anyway. So my hero function, which is the dominant function, is the top of my stack, is called introverted intuition, NI, which is the name of this project, NI-DOM. And why I called it the NI zero and NI hero zero is because I am trying to create some structures in my life. Let me say it differently. I have created structures in my life because I am the most productive when I have structures and systems. I thrive in that. And I don't need somebody to create the system for me. I can create it for my damn self. What my dilemma is that when new data comes in my way, and this kind of connects to the conversation around TETI, this is where I feel like, is this an NI thing or a TI thing? Because when new data comes in, I have to process it. But I'm not talking about new data in terms of information, because a TI person would have to take that new incoming information and then purify it or to see how pure it is. That's not what I'm doing per se. I am taking these new experiences and I'm making meaning out of it, because I need that meaning to connect to my direction of where I'm going in the world. Now, this is where I get confused between being an NITE, because I'm like, is that direction a TE thing or is it an NI thing? Or is it a combination of both? So for me, NI is that they say NI plan. See, this is where it gets confusing for me, because they say NI is about seeing into the future, and I've heard people talk about NI likes to plan, because in my opinion, we love to imagine the future, and obviously we love to extract meaning. We love to identify patterns. What does that mean? But I think TE is also a plan. I strategize through my TE. So I don't know if you guys have that clarity. Hook a sister up. I don't know. But either way, when I have new experiences, then I have to then go and extract meaning out of that experience to then put it in my trajectory for where I'm going and how I've made sense of my life. So that new experience can be information, which could give me the feel of a TI, because I'm now processing that TI for its value. I don't know if I'm processing the TI for accuracy. Excuse me. I'm not processing the information for accuracy. That's what make me TI. I'm processing it for meaning and value. And when I do that, it can take me out of my schedule because it's my dominant function that's overriding TE. It's like, yeah, I know we got this structure in place, but this experience, we got to understand it. And then I spend my time. This is when I'm reflecting, I'm meditating, I'm drawing out, I diagram. And part of my meaning making, which also looks very much like extroverted intuition, is that I then go and start collecting information in the outer world. I go and look, I start talking to other people because I want to hear what they think. Right? And all of that helps me to process this experience that I had so I can extract the value from it and move forward. And that then takes me out of my schedule because I can't override that. I can't go, oh, you know what? No, we're going to just wait here. We can park that meaning making because I first have to do this, and that. And it hijacks me. And I don't know what to do about that at this point, but I needed to articulate that is why it's my hero function. I'm saying, is it hero or is it zero? Because ultimately, I'm trying to do a damn thing. Like, I'm trying to mastermind something. And it requires action. And that action requires a certain level of structure. It's not a hyperstructure, but it's a structure all the same. And when new experiences come to the point, when I experience something that is so big that I can't just NI it in a moment, because that happens to me all the time, that sometimes the experience is so big, it requires me to pause on everything. And I spend time, and I go into an NI bubble, which is why the podcast has been so helpful for me. And I've been thinking about, have I reached the end? Like, because I feel like I'm at a place where a lot of themes are repeating itself. And then I realized the value for the podcast has just been it gives me a place to NI a thing, a version of that, because I think most NI happens internally, but there's a part that I can go, when I start processing it out loud, it helps me to mine that experience a little bit more. And I get more data out of it, more value out of it. And then it becomes a zero for me. The hero becomes a zero for me because now the NI is interrupting the thing that I'm trying to mastermind. Because I'm not, in my mind, I don't want to just be in the world and just be in the world making meaning only. Because even as a writer, like sometimes I think, well, maybe you're not supposed to be, because I'm as a social scientist and as an educator, that's part of the disclaimers I took out. But I'm a social scientist and I'm an educator. I'm having impact in the world. Then part of me is like, oh, with my body. That's a distinction because I'm also a writer. And as a writer, I have impact, but I'm not having impact through my body. I'm having impact through my intellect and my ability. I guess there's some body work, writing and typing, but I'm not taking physical action. And so I sometimes wonder, that's all I'm supposed to be doing is writing? And I would be restless because I'm a movement person. I'm an impact person through my body. I have to have that NISE, right? Because the polarity of the NI, what the NI is attached to, it's partnered with TE as its auxiliary mate, but it's tethered to the inferior function SE as a polarity. I'm sorry if you don't know what that means. Those of you who know, you know. So I just don't really know. It then becomes a zero for me because now it's disrupting the TE plan. I don't know. So I don't know. I'd love to know what you guys think. But those are my thoughts about NI and SI. I'm so proud I covered both of them in 15 minutes, You guys, if this reflection has had any value for you, please give it a heart, thumbs up, like, or a star. If my conversation about NI and SI and the way that I talked about it relates to a conversation you've had in the world, please take this link and share it with those participants and say, hey, we were talking about this. This lady has this to say about it. If my conversation about NI and SI caused some randomness in you, I'd love to hear it. You can find me on my website at yournidom.wordpress.com. You guys, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Until I come back, be well. Bye.